information about a significant drug trafficking investigation that resulted in multiple defendants being indicted in U.S. District Court and substantial seizures in narcotics. The participating agencies are all represented here today, and they are Madisonville Police Department, Hopkins County Sheriff's Office, Kentucky State Police, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Drug Enforcement Administration, and the United States Attorney for the Western District of Kentucky. I would like to start out by highlighting the partnerships that we have in Western Kentucky law enforcement. We have spent years developing these partnerships and friendships and relationships, and it's not just between the leaders that you see up here, it's between the officers, the detectives, and the special agents that are actually out doing the work. And they're the ones that deserve the credit. They've spent countless hours working weekends, overtime, time away from their families to make sure that these defendants are no longer a threat to our community. We're extremely grateful for that. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the citizens of Madisonville. This will do great things for our community and make it much, much safer. So at this time, I'd like to introduce United States Attorney for the Western District of Kentucky, Kyle Bumgarner.
Good afternoon. I can't thank Chief Bryan, the City of Madisonville, or Hopkins County enough for allowing us to join him in this momentous day where we announce the results of a long-term investigation into drug trafficking here in Madisonville. The work that we announced today exemplifies the best of law enforcement. It began with an incredibly strong Chief of Police in Steve Bryan and a strong Commonwealth's attorney in Hannah Kington Jarvis. Their agencies have been working tirelessly to combat drug trafficking here in Hopkins County and to hold those defendants to the full account of the law. Together with the Sheriff's Department, they've been on the front lines day in and day out, identifying dealers and distributors alike and pulling them off of your streets. But both the chief and the Commonwealth's attorney realized that the problems they faced called for bolder solutions, for more advanced and intensive investigative techniques, and frankly, the full force of federal law enforcement and our associated federal sentencing. Chief Bryan called us feds for help. We answered on the first ring, and we unequivocally committed to him every tool available to the federal government to help the city of Madisonville root out the scourge caused by drugs in this community. We assembled a team of agents and officers led by the DEA with significant support from the ATF, from Kentucky State Police, the Hopkins County Sheriff's Department, and the Madisonville Vice Narcotics Unit to identify key sources of supply and methods of distribution of methamphetamine locally. The team devised a long-term plan and a strategy designed to identify those sources, to understand their structure, and ultimately to dismantle them. Utilizing a range of investigative techniques, which included a Title III wiretap into a number of telephones used by certain of the defendants, agents uncovered a broad conspiracy led by Traviel Civils, Adam Pettis, and Robert Rice to distribute bulk quantities of methamphetamine here in Madisonville. As a result of their investigation, the United States Attorney's Office secured a 13-count indictment on August 12th, charging 6 defendants with violations of federal drug trafficking laws. That indictment was returned by a federal grand jury sitting in Bowling Green. The 6 defendants include Traviel Civils, Adam Pettis, Robert Rice, T-Ron Cox, Brooke Poe, and James Gunn. Each of these defendants have been charged in a conspiracy count. That conspiracy allegedly began on February 9th, 2026 through July 19th, 2026. The conspiracy was to possess with the intent to distribute 50 grams or more of methamphetamine and 500 grams or more of a mixture containing cocaine. That conspiracy charge alone carries a 10-year minimum mandatory sentence in federal court, meaning that's the least amount of time that they can get if they're convicted in federal court. 10 years removed from Madisonville. The defendants are also charged in possession with intent to distribute counts as well as distribution counts. They are alleged to have distributed both methamphetamine and cocaine. I must stress that at this point in time, we're at the indictment stage. An indictment is merely an allegation. These defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt before a jury of their peers. With that indictment, on August 13th, the day after it was returned, there was a coordinated takedown occurring in Hopkins County. That coordinated takedown was the product of men and women from each of the agencies represented here today. They arrested each of the defendants. They executed multiple search warrants at residences here as well as in Hopkinsville. 5 of the defendants remain in custody. 1 is out of custody. Where do we go from here? From here, AUSA Nick Raybold will lead our prosecutorial team. We will exchange discovery with the defendants. We will litigate any necessary pretrial motions. We'll prepare for trial, where we'll seek convictions on each of the counts in the indictment. Let me close where I started. We're here today because Madisonville has an exceptionally strong chief of police who realized there was a problem, and he maximized every tool at his disposal to find a solution. He called us, we answered, we came, and we will always do that when one of our local partners calls us. We will always show up and support those guys. That's what we did here. We've built a tremendous case. We executed on a joint plan. We dismantled what is alleged to be a large-scale drug trafficking organization operating here in Hopkins County. That doesn't happen without every one of the agencies standing beside me, leveraging each of the tools at their disposal for the common cause of public safety here in Hopkins County. And a final point that I would like to make, though we are addressing this particular case in Hopkins County, we at the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Kentucky represent all 53 counties that we serve. We do not represent solely Jefferson County. We do not represent solely Louisville. We are present in all 53 counties in the western half of the state. We are an office of Western Kentucky. We will continue serving Western Kentucky. If you're a dope dealer in Western Kentucky, you're not immune because you're not in Jefferson County. Federal agents are in all 53 of those counties. We know who you are, and I promise you, when your chief of police calls me, we're going to come after you. That's absolutely what we are committed to do, because that's what the people of Western Kentucky deserve. With that, I'd like to invite DEA Special Agent in Charge, Jim Scott, to come forward to tell you more about our case.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Scott. I'm the Special Agent in Charge of DEA's Louisville Field Division. Let me begin by thanking U.S. Attorney Bumgarner, Chief Ryan, Sheriff Young, for your continued partnerships and all the agencies that are represented here today. Every day throughout Western Kentucky, federal agents are working hand in hand with our state and local partners to target those individuals that are selling dangerous drugs and threatening the safety of our communities. And this investigation is just one example of those efforts and highlights the tremendous effort we have when we work together towards one goal. Earlier this year, investigators from DEA's Paducah Post of Duty, working alongside the ATF, the Kentucky State Police, and the Madisonville and Hopkins County Vice Narcotics Unit, launched a Homeland Security Task Force investigation into a large-scale drug trafficking organization operating here in Hopkins County and the surrounding area. For more than 2 decades, members of this organization have preyed upon this community, trafficking dangerous drugs, committing violent crimes, and leaving devastated families in their wake. Several of these men have been in prison before, only to come back out and return to the same criminal behavior. Well, that cycle ends today. On August 13th, 2026, DEA special agents, working alongside our federal, state, and local partners, executed 5 federal search warrants and arrested 6 primary targets of this investigation on federal drug charges. Multiple state search warrants also led to the arrest of 3 additional individuals on state drug charges. Investigators seized approximately 5 pounds of methamphetamine and 2 pounds of cocaine, along with multiple firearms. And these just aren't statistics. Every ounce of cocaine, every ounce of methamphetamine that is taken off of our streets is one less family that has to go through the pain that they see every day with drug abuse. Every weapon that we recover is one less weapon that's available to fuel the violence that threatens our communities. You know, one of the defendants in this investigation apparently considers himself quite the rap artist, operating under the moniker Cocky. He's boasting about his violent exploits, his drug dealing, and his life as a gangster. Well, Cocky is soon going to have a new audience with a jury in federal court, and we're going to see how well that nickname holds up. I'm incredibly proud of this team, their tireless efforts, and their commitment to keeping our community safe. The DEA will continue to use every available resource to us, working side by side with our partners in law enforcement to dismantle drug trafficking organizations and hold those responsible accountable. To those who traffic, poison, and prey on our communities, we are coming for you. And for the good people of Western Kentucky, we will continue to do everything in our power to make your community safe. Thank you. I'd like to introduce next John Noakes, the Special Agent in charge of the ATF.
Good afternoon. My name is John Noakes. As Jim said, I'm the ATF Special Agent in charge of our Louisville Field Division. I'd like to echo Chief Bryan by saying thank you to the DEA, KSP, Madisonville Police Department, the Hopkinsville Sheriff's Office, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for an ongoing partnership that truly is second to none. ATF became involved in this investigation due to the violent nature of the offenders, their substantial criminal behavior, and their previous federal convictions. This investigation is a perfect example of law enforcement working together at the local, state, and federal levels in order to have the greatest impact on reducing violent crime and making our community safer. The citizens of this community can rest assured that our agencies are perfectly aligned in a shared mission of targeting the most violent offenders in Western Kentucky, and we will continue bringing our collective resources to bear to ensure we are prioritizing the right investigations and having the greatest impact in making our communities safer. ATF remains committed to combating violent crime and aggressively pursuing those who seek to poison and destroy our communities. Thank you. I'd like to introduce you to KSP Major David Archer.
I'd just like to affirm the statements already made by everybody. As you can see, this operation was the culmination of multiple agencies working together. We've always been working together, and that has created the success that you see today. The overwhelming support provided by the Hopkinsville Police Department, the DEA, the ATF, and the Hopkins County Sheriff's Office has allowed this to be successful. This investigation began in 2025 and continued through 2026 as our detectives and theirs identified higher-up members of a drug trafficking organization. DESI, Drug Enforcement Special Investigations within the Kentucky State Police, work closely in cooperation with local and federal law enforcement agencies to continue to identify higher members of the DTO. DEA and ATF started a joint investigation and adopted it in summer of 2026. This resulted in large quantities of controlled purchases and search warrants executed throughout the case, resulting in the arrest, as noted by U.S. Attorney Bumgarner. We just want to thank them for the continued support for these operations, and we want the public to know that we work together to make the communities in the Commonwealth safer, and these relationships will continue on. Thank you.
As you can see, we're awfully proud of the work that the men and women of law enforcement have done to make this a successful operation. Drug addiction is real. It faces all of our communities. It's something that each of our communities suffer from. We're committed to fighting that problem. We're committed to continuing to bring all of the resources available to us, to your communities, to make sure that your family members do not have to continue to suffer from the consequences of addiction. with that, if there are any questions, I'll take a few.
I'm Barbara Bellinger with 14 News. I actually have a question for the Chief of Police.
Absolutely.
That's all right, Chief. I heard messages to the drug dealers and messages to the community. But from you, what is your message to the community of Madisonville, to the people you serve every day here with the result of this?
Along the same lines as the things these men have said, I talk to the community quite a bit here, and one thing that we always talk about is that we put a very high value on taking drugs off the street because most crimes have a drug nexus. Drugs brings with it violence. It brings with it guns. It brings with it addiction and people getting injured and hurt. And our main mission is safety, keeping people safe in the community. So when you aggressively investigate these cases and put these people in prison where they belong, as long as you can, then you have a better chance of making your community as safe as possible.
And just a follow up, it does sound like this was kind of an entrenched group in the area, even though the investigation went quite quickly at the end, but possibly dating back a couple decades. I think one of you mentioned. What does that mean? Is this taking sort of a network that's been entrenched here away? Like they're going away for 10 years. I'm wondering, I'm not doing a very good job of asking a question, am I?
I understand the question. Thank you for the question. So certainly we've alleged a conspiracy that stretches the course of several months within this year, though we do believe that they've operated beyond that. I will say this, though. It is generally a matter when we become involved, we pursue targets that we believe are a scourge and danger to society and to communities. That is what our intention is. That is why we get involved in investigations, and that's why we come to cities like the city of Madisonville to bring both the tools that we have available, but also the federal sentences that we can put forward on a defendant that just aren't available in state court. These defendants will face a minimum of 10 years if they are convicted. In federal court, there is no parole. They will serve 85% of that sentence if they are convicted. That is real time. That if those people are convicted and they serve, they are removed from this community, and this community does not have to face the threat posed by them as alleged in the indictment.
Can you tell us where they're being held?
I'm not sure that. We'll get you that information.
Okay, thanks.
Just so you know, also for all the press release, we're printing it off right now. The folks here are kind enough to print them off, have the names and.
Oh, great! Yeah, I
so
was
have everything you need
going to be
on it.
looking that up
I'll
because.
get that to you before you all leave.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Take a couple more. Yes, sir.
Ward McKinley with the Messenger. What specific evidence pointed to these individuals? I mean, obviously you've got that everywhere. I mean, it's most, I guess, most common thing. But what led you to these specific?
Well, that's a great question. So I wish I could get into the specific evidence that pointed us to these individuals. It would be inappropriate for me to do that here at this indictment stage. I will say this. This is the reason that we do these joint investigations. We rely on our locals to tell us who they believe to be the problems are in their community. With that information, with their intelligence of the problems facing the local community, we bring in our federal resources. We put those together to try to maximize an investigation. So to your question, while I can't give you specifics, I can tell you that it is based on local intelligence that our chief and his men and women know good and well.
What about the value of what was taken off the streets like that?
I'll have to ask Mr. Scott. the best way to that.
Yeah, well, when you're talking value, you can, if you're selling a kilo of cocaine, it's certainly going to be, let's say $30,000 is the ballpark price. But once you gram that out, if you're spending $100 a gram, we're talking a lot more money. So we're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars involved in this case at the street level.
One final question I have. That's what I see here. You mentioned violence. When you talk about specific incidents in which violence became kind of part of this?
Unfortunately, because it's at the indictment stage, we don't want to taint juries and things like that. I can just tell you again, the level of violence contributed to this group was brought to our attention. It was worthy of us to kind of partner up in this investigation.
Any other questions? Maybe take one or two more? No? Okay, we've got press releases that have spellings that have of the defendant's ages and a bit more information.
I'm sorry, I had to remember the question I still had for
Okay.
a second. And it was was the call made to bring in the feds and like really take this thing to the ground?
So this has been an ongoing investigation for over a year. And so we've been working it for at least that amount of time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.